Anthropologists, as we have explained last class, they belong to different schools of thought. And those schools of thought disagree with each other about many things. However, despite those disagreements, they agree with each other about some basics. One of those basics is called holism. What is this holism? Holism means that all human life is integrated, interconnected, and we can't separate any part of it at all. It is exactly like the human body. You can't say that I will study the arm of this person alone, okay, and this arm is independent from the body. This is not true. It is not independent from the body. Who gives orders to the arm to move? The brain, right? And how the blood is being pumped into the arm? Through the heart. And which organ supplies this blood with oxygen? The lungs. Okay? The same about the society. Anthropologists think that every part of the society is interconnected. Every part of human life is interconnected. Okay? All parts of human life are affecting each other, are influencing each other. Therefore, anthropology is concerned about human life as a whole. Okay? You understand holism now, I'm sure. Also, from the things that we talked about last class that all anthropologists agree about is that they have to do field study. Okay? They have to go to the people, observe them, okay, and within the field study they will do ethnography, which means that they study a particular culture, okay, and ethnography will lead to ethnology, which means that they will make comparative study between two or more cultures. You got it? Okay, so to say it in brief again, anthropologists belong to different schools of thoughts who disagree with each other about many things. However, there are main things that they agree about, and one of those things is called holism. Okay? You get it? So, this is number one. Number two, one of the questions you asked about today was cultural relativism, and thank you very much for asking this question. Although we are going to talk about in detail in the future, but it would be very interesting to understand from now. Harmanjit, do you have a question?
No, I just forgot to lower my hand. I'm sorry.
No problem at all. If you have a question, ask, please.
I feel free to ask.
Okay. Cultural relativism. What is cultural relativism? Cultural relativism means that although we belong to different societies, although we belong to different cultures, we have different traditions, we have different customs, we have different beliefs. However, we should respect each other. Every person should respect other people's culture, okay, and try to understand this culture and try to understand why those people are doing this kind of behavior that I'm not used to. You get it? So this is called cultural relativism. And what is the opposite of cultural relativism? The opposite of cultural relativism is ethnocentrism. Did you ever hear this word before?
No,
No.
No.
professor. No,
No.
sir.
No, opposite.
Ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism means that I consider my culture to be the superior culture and all other cultures are inferior to me. And I look down at them. I show them that I don't appreciate their culture. I'm disgusted from their culture. I'm disgusted. I hate their way of eating or hate their type of clothing. Okay, which I'm judging other cultures from the perspective of my own culture only. Okay, so this is called ethnocentrism, and this is one of the very main causes of racism. Okay, so when I see other people doing some behavior which is different from mine, which is different from mine, I judge this behavior from the perspective of my own culture. You get it? And so ethnocentrism is the opposite of what? Cultural relativism. There is also a very interesting word that is related to both of them, since we talked about cultural relativism and talked about ethnocentrism. There is a very interesting word also we are going to study in the future in more detail, but it is interesting to know from now. It is called xenocentrism. Xenocentrism is pronounced with a Z at the beginning, but it is not written with a Z, it is written with an X. Okay, xenocentrism. What is xenocentrism? Xenocentrism is that I look down at my own culture and I feel that other people's culture is superior. I look up at some other culture and I don't respect my own culture. Okay, let's say that I'm new immigrant to England or to Switzerland, or okay, and I'm coming from a relatively poorer society, so I feel that this other culture is much greater than mine, and I try to imitate them and abandon my own culture. Okay, and I become biased against my own culture and I glorify the other culture. Okay, this is called xenocentrism, and this is also one of the problems that might lead some people to accept inequality in the new society. So now you are immigrants to Canada, for example. If you feel that the Western culture that is dominating Canada is much greater than yours, so this is a problem, because that means that you have xenocentrism, and that will lead to the acceptance of inequality. So when some people treat you on unequal basis or discriminate against you, you will feel that this is something normal. They belong to a culture that is more advanced than mine. Okay, which is not good, because nobody should accept unfair treatment at all. You get it? Okay, so the third thing that you asked about today is archaeology. We said that there are 4 subfields in anthropology. 4 subfields in anthropology. Let's look at them. Let's look at the 4 subfields in anthropology, and they are related, by the way. Let's the 4 subfields in anthropology. Yes. Do you see this slide? Archaeology is one of them. So there are 4 main branches in there are 4 more branches in anthropology. The biological anthropology, which is studying the connection, the biological influences on the personality, okay? And cultural anthropology that we are focusing on in this course that need to explain to us today, and archaeology, which is studying the remains of ancient civilizations in order to understand their cultures, okay? And the linguistic anthropology, which is studying the social contexts that led to the development of languages. Okay? You get it? Okay. And then, before I proceed into today's presentation, one of the questions that I was asked at the beginning as well is the humanistic approach, okay, and the scientific approach. Anthropology is the study of humans, okay. Anthropology uh, is humanistic because yes, it is interested in archaeology, interested in languages, interested in biology, but why all of that? For the sake of studying humans, how humans are behaving, why they are behaving in a particular way, how they are different from each other, what are the causes of those differences, how do they interact with each other. Okay, so in this way, it is a humanistic subject, but at the same time, it is scientific because it follows scientific methods. It adopts researches in order to reach information. Anthropologists don't bring information about humans from their mind or from their own opinions. They don't sit like that and think and make up ideas and say theories. No, but they do researches, they gather data, they gather information, and through this data and information and through the scientific methodological steps, they reach conclusions, and based on that they can make theories, they can make discoveries about humans and the human life. Okay? And the last question that we began this class with was the socio-political issues. Why socio-political issues are important from anthropology and how anthropology is discussing them. Why a subject like political science is related to anthropology. We said that the main thing in anthropology that we are studying human life, right? Human life means that we are studying cultures, that we are studying the way of life of people, right? Right? Okay. If now Karan is Karan is the governor of Ontario. Okay. The most populated province in Canada is Ontario, and Karan is the governor of Ontario, and he decides to follow a particular economic political policy in order to promote the private sector companies, okay? But at the same time, he will charge more taxes. He will take more taxes from the middle class employees. So he will support the big businesses, okay? And but at the same time, he will make the middle class people and the working class pay more taxes. So that means that in the long run, the middle class people and the working class people will become poorer, and the rich people will become richer. So that means that there will be a wider gap between the rich and the poor. Okay? And that means that the lifestyle of the working class and the middle class will change because now they have new budgets. And also the standard of living of the upper class will change as well. Okay? And if the lifestyle of people is changing, so that means that there will be a cultural change, right? So the political decisions can affect the human life of every person in the society. Okay, so that's why politics is important in anthropology, because politicians are the ones who are taking decisions. They are, and also society, the people in the society, they are, if we have democracy, are the ones who are voting to choose politicians, right? So politicians are influenced by the culture, but they can influence the culture and change it as well with some decisions, right? I hope I have answered today's questions. And now let's return to this slide. Do you have any further questions?
No, not yet.
Okay. Uh, we have in this slide the definition of anthropology, and we already explained it last class. We explained holistic. We have comparative. Uh, we said that we talked about ethnography. Ethnography is to study a particular culture. But after studying culture A and studying culture B, I can compare between them to examine the similarities and the differences, right? Okay, so and this is called ethnology. So there is ethnography, which is studying a particular culture, and there is ethnology, which is comparing and contrasting more than the two cultures or more. And all of that must involve field study. So there is an agreement among anthropologists that it must be field-based. What is the meaning of field-based? That I have to obtain primary data. What is primary data? Primary data is the data that I obtain directly from the people under study. Okay, like we have a very famous anthropologist called Margaret Mead. Margaret Mead visited some tribes, lived with them, has she used participant observation. Who knows the meaning of participant observation? Please raise up your hand if you know. What is participant observation? Participant observation. It is one of the tools of gathering data. How? What is participant observation? No hands at all? I'm shocked. No, I'm sure that somebody knows. Okay, Manpreet, thank you. Manpreet, what is
Mm,
participant observation?
Yes, Professor. I think it's the going on to the field and living with the culture to understand how they live.
Exactly, living with them and participating with them in their everyday activities and social interaction. In this way, the anthropologist is becoming one of the group, and the longer the anthropologist stays with them, with the social group, the more in-depth information this anthropologist can obtain about those people. Okay, so if I just observe you without interacting with you, I might not understand the details of the details about your relationships. But if I become one of the group, I will understand more. Okay? That's why anthropologists prefer participant observation as a tool of gathering data. And that doesn't mean that this is the only tool that they use, but it is a very preferred tool of gathering information. Okay? And they do that within the field-based ethnographic study. You get it? Okay, Margaret Mead visited some tribes, and she found that in those tribes, she didn't visit, she lived with them for some time, and she found that in those tribes, remember that Margaret Mead was living in the West in the early 20th century, okay, and in the late 19th century. So Margaret Mead, the society, the Western society at that time is not like the Western society now. The Western society at that time was a patriarchal society. What is the meaning of the word patriarchal? And patriarchal is the opposite of the word matriarchal. Patriarchal is the society in which the men are leading the family, okay? And they are the ones who take the decisions, and they are the one who have more power inside the family. Matriarchal society is the opposite, is a society in which women are the ones who are leading the family, and they are the ones who are taking important decisions. Okay, so most of the societies of the world are patriarchal, especially at the beginning of the 20th century. Okay, but the tribe that Margaret Mead visited, she found that this tribe is matriarchal. Women are the ones who are having more power. They are the ones who are taking the important decisions. They are the ones who are stronger, who they are the ones who do the hard work outside of the home. Okay, and the men are the ones who are staying at home, the ones who are cooking, the ones who are cleaning the house, and the ones who are feeding the children. So she said, how that is very different from what I'm used to in my own society. Therefore, therefore, gender roles are not biologically constructed, are not born with us, but they are socially constructed. They are made by the society. The society teaches men to behave in a particular way and teaches women to behave in a particular way, and those teachings might be different from society to another. Okay, how did she know that? She knew that through participant observation, through field study. Okay, you get it? Any question?
Yes. No, sir.
Any question? Okay, evolutionary. Anthropologists are interested, or biological anthropologists are still interested very much in studying the biological factors that can influence human life. They are not studying biology for the sake of biology as physicians do, but they are studying biology because there are some biological factors that can influence our way of thinking, that can influence our way of living, right? Okay. Please don't hesitate to ask me whenever you need. So, we have Harnoor. Harnoor, can you read this slide for us, please? Harnoor? Harnoor. Please listen, everybody. I'll keep on calling names randomly to participate with us in the class. And if I find a name in the list and I call the name and the name didn't answer me, that is giving me a bad impression. I'm sorry to say that, but it's very important that you know that from now. Okay, so if for me the actual interactive attendance is much more important than the official attendance, because attendance for me is not a name in the list, but attendance for me means attention and participation. Okay, but putting your name here and going to check your phone or doing having a dinner, since I'm not doing that at the time of the class, and I don't expect any of my students to do that as well. Okay, so anyway, Karan, Karan, Karan,
Yes, Professor. Yes,
yes,
Professor.
please read this slide for us, and I'm going to comment on it.
Which Professor? The culture?
The one in front of us now. What is the concept of culture? Slide number 4.
Slide number 4. Okay. The culture defines as sets of the learned behavior, ideas, and material goods that human beings share as members of society. Culture allows a human to adapt and transform the world around them. Many anthropologists see humans as bioculture or organism. All humans share the same biological capacity of culture. Culture is learned by observing and copying others, not inherited. All humans' biological survival depends on culture.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Karan. Karan, there is a very famous saying in anthropology which says humans are made, not born. I explained it last class, but I hope that you, even if you don't remember, no problem, but think about it. It is related very much to this slide that we are discussing now. Okay? So humans are made, not born. Why? What is the purpose of this sentence? What do we mean by this sentence? Humans are made, not born.
Because we copy some cultural things from other people,
Yeah,
and we also copy our behavior. We
right.
learn it from other people, so
Oh,
that's why it says
oh,
made.
okay, very good, Jihan. Which sentence here in this slide mainly talks about what you said now?
All humans share the same biological capacity for culture, not that one. The culture is learned by observing and copying others, not inherited.
Exactly this one. Culture is learned by observing and copying, not inherited. Okay, so culture is not genetic. Culture is not born with us, but we born knowing nothing, and then we there is a process that is happening to us, and this process called socialization. Socialization. You know how to write social, right? Then add at the end IZATION, socialization, which is a process of learning culture. And there are agencies of socialization. The agencies of socialization are the social organizations which teach the culture to individuals. The family is a very important agency of socialization, because when the baby is born, the first people that this baby is meeting are the family members, who and he start copying them and learning from them how to talk, and that means that he will learn a particular language from them, how to walk, how to behave, how to do the basics of behavior. And then friends, they are called peer group, is another agency of socialization. The school is a third agency of socialization. Mass media, a fourth agency of socialization, which became so influential. Okay, workplaces, religious institutions, all of those are agencies of socialization through which humans are learning human behavior. Okay, and that's how humans are made. You get it? So it is, we are not talking about the physical body of the humans, but we talk about the mentality, the way of thinking, the way of living. Okay, the behavior. This behavior is learned from the society, social learning. Okay, so uh, and also something important about this slide, that culture, it's very important. You see this word share, human beings share. So if and I think that I have given this example last class as well, that if Savrit, for example, likes to have T-bone steak for breakfast every day, can we say that this is culture, or this is personal preference? In which case we will call this culture, and in which case we will call it personal preference. Savrit,
Um, it could be called as
turn on the
cult.
camera, please. Yes,
My
yes, it is
camera is
turned now. I
already
see you
on.
now. I see you now.
Okay.
But you know, your face appeared when you talked. When
I'm
you were
sorry.
not talking, when
Oh,
you
okay.
talked, your face appeared. But you're not talking, it was not showing you.
Okay.
Okay. So
Um,
if you like to have T-bone steak every day for breakfast, the first thing you do when you wake up, okay?
yeah.
Uh, if I'm not saying that you are doing that, but if you are doing that,
Yeah.
in which case we can consider this to be a culture, and in which case we can consider this to be a personal preference.
Mm, like it depends.
Depends
It
on
could be. It could be a cultural thing too, because if people around me follow that, like
exactly,
if I am grown
exactly.
up seeing
Very
people.
good. Very good. So if your social group,
Yeah.
if your society uh, is doing that, and you learn that from them, so this is culture.
Yeah, I've
Why?
grown up in this one,
Because it
so
is
that's
shared. Shared here is the secret word.
sorry. What?
Okay? Shared, you see share, human beings share. So share here, if this is shared by other
Oh,
individuals,
shared.
by,
Okay.
yes, so in this case, we can call it a culture. Okay,
Yeah.
but if you, but if it is not your family, it is not your province, it is not your country, but it is just an idea that came to your mind and something that you like, okay, and you are not imitating anybody else, so this is just a personal preference, and we can't call it
Yeah.
a culture at all.
Yeah. I have some of those personal preferences already.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Can you tell us one of them, please? If
Uh,
you can. If you had, no problem, you
yeah,
don't have.
I don't mind. I really like Italian food. I have no way like interaction with Italian, some like anything. I haven't had that very much in my back in my home country, but I was really fond of Italian. For no
Okay,
reason, I just took the cooking classes for Italian.
okay, very good. There is a
So
very
that's why.
important word that we can, very related to the example that you have given. It is called the cultural diffusion. Do you know the meaning of the word diffusion?
Yeah, like I don't know how to
Cultural
say it.
diffusion happens when
Like
an
mix up.
not actually mix. Thank you for the word, but it is not exactly mix, but it is an idea that came from another culture
Yeah,
and diffused into your own culture. So it's called cultural diffusion. And when it was diffused, some people, not everybody, some people got influenced by it. Okay? Cultural
yeah.
diffusion. It's
So
how some
being in another
culture
culture
might
and
influence another culture.
yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay. Also in this slide, we have uh, we have a word called biocultural organisms. Humans are not humans are not animals. Some people say that, but actually humans are not animals. Humans are different from animals, although they might have the same organs, okay? But the most important thing that distinguishes humans from animals is culture. The behavior of animals is not based on adaptation or socialization or acculturation, but the behavior of animals is based on biological instinct that is born with them. Okay? But humans, although they also have biological instincts, but they can't express these biological instincts without social learning, without cultural tools, without socialization. For example, if you are hungry, you will not know what to eat and what not to eat and how to cook except through socialization, which is learning a particular culture. But whenever the animal is born, the animal is already programmed, okay? There is already a biological instinct created inside them, which types of food are appropriate for them. The animal doesn't learn a particular language, but the language is born with them, but we learn the language. Okay? The animal doesn't the kind of food that a particular animal is preferring, again, that is born with them. Yes, it is true that you can train some animals to do particular things that are not born with them, right? So animals also can learn, but learning is not making up the majority of animals' behavior, while learning is making up the majority of human behavior. Okay? So the biological factor on humans, anthropologists are not denying that there is a biological factor, but they are saying that the socio-cultural factor is much more influential than the biological factor, which is not the case for animals. Okay? Do you get it? Any question or comment?
Professor, I have some question
Okay.
on the example you just displayed.
Yes, please.
Can you Can you explain again the example of animals and humans about social and bioculture?
Okay.
Yeah, same.
Okay, I'll give you a very real example. Okay. Uh, but I will start the real example with an example from fiction. But this example from fiction was based on real discoveries. Do you know, of course, did you hear about Tarazan? Right? Tarazan
Okay.
was a human. This is not real, but it was based on real examples that I'm going to talk about now. Tarazan was a human, but was not raised up, was not socialized by humans. So since he was born, he was socialized by animals, right? So he was behaving like animals or like humans? Like animals, right?
Okay.
Why? Because here the human personality is not born with them, but learned from the society. You get it? Okay, let's go to the real stories. The real stories that they found in some cases, children, 5 years old children, 6 years old children, 10 years old children, who were locked uh, locked down in since they were born without any interaction with any human at all until they became like 5 years old, 7 years, 10 years, whatever. There are several examples. Of course, we don't want to talk about whether it is ethical to do that with a child in order to discover information or not, because of course it is unethical at all, and we don't know who are the criminals who did that. But this is not the story. The story is what were the influences on those children. They didn't know how to interact, how to communicate with fellow humans at all after they were discovered. Some of them were locked down with chicken. So they behaved, they were imitating some behavior of a chicken. Some of them were locked with dogs. Okay, so they were imitating the behavior of dogs and even making the same sounds. Okay, let's imagine that we will do an opposite experiment and you will get a newborn cat, and this cat will not interact with any cats whatsoever. Okay, and it will be raised up with your family. Okay, only with the human family members. Okay, without any, the cat will never see any other cat at all. Okay, will the behavior of the cat be a human behavior? Will the language be a human language? No. Why? Because this behavior is created inside the cat and it is part of its biological instincts. Okay, but for us, for humans, we learn the language from the social environment. Okay, this is not the same for the animal, right? Did you understood this point? Any question?
So that's why we say that humans are not animals
Yes, that's
on
the
this point.
yes, on this point I'm talking. We are talking here about what we are talking about: culture. We are talking about personality. That's why I'm saying, did you understand this point?
Yeah,
Yes, yes, yes,
makes
yes.
sense.
Okay,
Yes, I
by
understand, but I have
by,
a question.
by yes, of course. You are most welcome.
So I saw a video like a couple days ago, and there was a cat on the video. The cat was putting its tongue like outside like a dog, because the cat was raised with dog for a long time. So the cat was behaving like a dog. So it was just a
Okay,
coincidence,
Chehan,
or
thank you very much. It's a very nice point. So that's why I started with this. I'm not saying that animals cannot learn anything at all. Animals can learn. You see in the circus that animals are doing things that fellow animals from the same species are never doing, right? How did they do that?
yes,
Through learning. So animals can learn, but learning is not the crucial part of animal behavior. You get the point? So it can happen that cats can learn from dogs, that cats can say, you can, when you have cat at home, you can train this cat to do certain things at particular places, right? To eat at a particular place, to pee at a particular place, right? So this is learning. So animals can learn, but learning is not forming the biggest part of their behavior. Okay, you get the point? So,
yes,
and that's why they recorded this video, because this is the exception, not the norm.
yeah. It was
Okay.
interesting. That I
Yeah,
just
of
wanted to
course.
share.
Yeah, yeah, it's very good. Yeah, but I mean, like for example, when they make a video of a 3-year-old child who can speak very fluently. So why we see that in the video? Because this is the exception, not the norm. Okay, get the point? Thank
Yes,
you,
yes,
thank
yeah,
you very much, Chihan. But so both creatures, humans have biological instinct and animals have biological instinct. But biological instinct in humans is not controlling them. Socialization is forming the personality of humans and teaches them how to use the biological instincts. Okay? And how to satisfy the biological needs. While for animals, they are already programmed. And when I say animals, I don't mean only mammals, I mean animals, birds, insects, whatever. They are already programmed, although they can also learn. But learning is not forming the greatest part of their behavior. Okay? Those are the subfields of anthropology, the biological anthropology, and it is also the same like physical, cultural, linguistic, archaeology, and we explained that in detail last class, and we also explained that at the beginning of today's class.
So can I
Okay,
ask
what?
something?
Yes, of course, yeah.
Okay, so when I was doing the biological anthropology, so it explained that um, like humans are originates from animals, originated from the animals. So that's why like some species like let's say orangutans, they
Hmm.
have some of the same habits or some same
Oh,
things
oh,
as humans.
okay, Savrit, but the theory that Darwin's theory, which says that, okay, it says that humans developed or evolved from other species, okay, but it didn't say that humans are animals, okay, but it
Yeah.
says that throughout thousands and thousands of years, okay, there is something called evolution which happened. And this theory says that there is something called microevolution and something called the macroevolution. And take care that I'm saying what I'm saying a theory. It is a theory. Okay? So, and it says that there's microevolution and macroevolution. The microevolution means that the organism will stay the same organism. The giraffe will stay giraffe. But
Yeah.
the future generations of giraffes can have more developed features that can enable them to adapt to the environment. Okay, like maybe taller necks or to eat from higher trees or whatever. Okay, that some mammals were living outside of the ocean, they became living inside the ocean. Okay, like some birds were flying and they are now not flying. Okay, so this is called the microevolution. And the macroevolution means that some organisms over very long time promoted, developed, evolved into more complex and sophisticated organisms. Okay, and the more
So
complex and sophisticated organisms also got evolved to even more complex and sophisticated until this series of evolutions became humans at one point of a time. Okay, so this is the evolution theory of Darwin and others. Okay, but even if that happened, okay, um, uh, Darwin didn't say that the present humans are animals. You get
we are
it?
better adapted animals.
You are. he
Yeah.
he said that the word macro evolution means that one thing became something else.
Yeah.
It is not even the same thing. It is not the same genes. It is not the same number of chromosomes. Okay, do you get it?
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
is one thing became something else. You get it?
So I'm just
Uh,
curious that are
and by the way, just to be honest about that, okay, this theory is taught as a fact, okay, but we have to differentiate between the word theory and the word fact. Okay, a fact means that there is no dispute about that, that no other theories are saying anything else. Okay,
yeah.
but a theory means that you might have other theories which say something else. Okay, you get the point?
Yeah. So I like just a question popped up in my mind. Are
Yes.
we like is more evolution happening and are we like going to something else in maybe next few years?
Very interesting questions.
Yeah,
A
that
very
just
interesting,
came into my
it's a
mind.
very interesting question. Okay, I also thought about this question many times. Okay, and
Maybe.
and I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay, and throughout the recorded history, Of course, we don't know about the unrecorded history, but throughout the recorded history, we didn't see a single case of macroevolution. Okay?
Yeah.
Do you mean on humans?
And we didn't see a single case of macroevolution in humans and in any other thing. We saw microevolution, but I'm talking about macroevolution, which is the organism transforming into another totally different organism. Okay?
Okay.
But the microevolution means that the organism stays the same organism but with different traits. Okay?
Yeah.
You get it?
Yeah.
Okay. But thank you very much for the interesting question.
That
I
was-
really appreciate that. Manpreet, your hand is up. Do you have a question or you just forgot it up?
Yes, Professor, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
So, as you talked about insects and animals, but as we know, the ants and bees, they are socially very intelligent, and they work as a labor and choose their leader. So, are there an exception to?
Yes, they are. Are they intelligent or they are programmed to do that? For example, can the bee decide to do something different?
But
Okay. I
yes.
mean, can the bee decide, can the bee or the ant decide? I know that they are very active, very sophisticated, very organized, even much better than many humans.
Yes.
Okay. But can can it be creative and can it decide to do something different? Can it disagree with this system and decide to invent another system?
Yes, but they, yes,
You
they
get
cannot
you
go
see what
out
I'm
of the.
talking about?
Yes, yes.
Can it be decide to say no? I don't like this way of life. I have another idea, a different system of life, and I will try to convince the other bees to follow me.
Mhm. They do not get out of their own social set, but they definitely follow their their social arrangement or whatever.
Okay, so is this a kind is this intelligence or or an instinct and they are programmed to do that? How can we differentiate if we find that all of them are doing the same thing
Hmm.
generation after generation after generation after generation, all life, all history long? So that means that they are programmed, right?
Yes.
You,
So you mean that
you get the
there's no
point?
evolution in their culture?
And no, I'm not talking about evolution now. I'm talking about instincts.
Hmm.
I don't think that this example is related to evolution at all. Evolution means biological transformation from an organism to another organism, or the microevolution means that the same organism will develop different biological traits over time. Okay, so I don't think that that is what you are talking about, but you are talking about now the ants and the bees are very sophisticated and very organized.
Hmm.
Okay, but does that mean that they are having a culture and social learning like humans? No, it doesn't mean. Although they might be doing a better job than many humans. But the idea here is not whether it is a better job or a worse job. The idea here is, does that come from their minds and from or through social interaction or born with them. Okay, and as we said, and as Jehan said, of course they might learn. Okay, like for example, when you have some animals who are hunting other animals, they are doing that in front of the little kids in order to teach them how to do that. This is
Yes.
social, this is learning. Okay, you get it? So
Yes.
there
Yes.
is some learning happening, but learning here is not constructed. This social learning is not constructing the most major part of the animal's behavior or the ant's behavior or the bee's behavior. Okay,
Mhm.
but they are pre-programmed to be like that.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you very much. Let's continue. Okay. This slide is very interesting. Okay. Uh, it says here that why the study of biological anthropology was very important in the 19th century. Pay attention, everybody, please pay attention, because what I'm going to say now is really very, very, very important. Pay attention, everybody. The ones who are away from their computers and their cameras are off, come back and turn on your cameras, please. All cameras on, please. It is a must. I repeated that several times before. It is a must. Please turn on your cameras, everybody. Okay. It says here why the study of biological anthropology was very important in the 19th century. Why? Who asked me at the beginning about the influence of socio-political issues? Who asked me at the beginning about the influence of socio-political issues? This is related or was related very much to politics. Anthropologists were recruited in the 19th century and in the 20th century to study the societies that the European colonial powers are going to occupy and colonialize, to invade. Okay, so anthropologists were going to those societies and studying their cultures and then writing that and in reports and giving those reports to governments. So the governments will know how to control those societies. Okay? But the problem here that after occupying those other countries, some people will say, but those are humans like us. They should be treated like us. We are equal humans. The governments at that time didn't want that to happen. Okay? Why? Because those governments, those powers, those capitalists who were controlling those colonial countries at that time wanted to occupy those other countries not to be treated equally, but to exploit them, okay, forcing them to be labor and slaves by getting the raw materials from them for free or for very cheap prices, okay, by forcing them to buy their products, okay, so treating them as equal humans meant at that time that it will not look acceptable to exploit them. Okay, that's why the scientific but biased researches, there's a difference between a biased research and an unbiased objective research. What is the difference? If I'm doing a research with a particular idea in mind that I'm trying to prove in order to benefit somebody who pays me money, okay, so this is a biased research. This is a dishonest research. And I'm using my research skills to make the people think that the conclusion that I'm going to reach is a scientific conclusion, but in fact, it is a dishonest conclusion. Okay? Because throughout this research, I'm considering some data and I'm ignoring other data in order to reach a pre-decided conclusion that will fit with the interests of some people who finance me. You got it? Okay? So those kind of biological, anthropological researches at that time, they were trying to prove that those other people of other societies are not the same degree of humans. They are subhumans. They are not equal to the white European man. Okay? Why? Because if they say that to the people will accept the unfair treatment. They will accept the exploitation. Okay? And if those people themselves who are occupied, they were convinced of that, they might, do you remember that today, at the beginning, when we talked about cultural relativism, ethnocentrism, I added one word and I said it is very related to both of them. Who remembers the word? Raise up your hand, please. Really, I will give a bonus to the one who will remember the third word and explain it. Who remembers?
It's xenocentrism.
Exactly. Who's speaking now? Who's speaking? Amrit.
Yeah.
Excellent, Amrit. Can you explain it? Excellent, excellent, excellent. Very good.
Like in which other cultures are superior and we don't respect like our culture in that.
Okay, so if you are a person, an individual in an Asian or African society that the Western European colonial powers occupied, and they convinced you that you are not equal to them, that they are much more superior, so you felt that you are inferior and your culture is inferior, and you looked up at them. So this is xenocentrism. And one of the ways they used at that time to say that is using this biological, anthropological, dishonest researches in order to try to make fake discoveries that humans are not equal. To say that humans are different races and each race is having a different level and a different grade. And of course they were saying what they were saying, that who is in the top? The white Caucasians or the white Europeans. They are the most intelligent. I'm not saying that, but they were using those researches at that time to say that. Okay, we call it also fake science, not real science. When science is used to prove a pre-decided evidence, okay, this is fake science, dishonest researches. Okay, in order to convince the public opinion that the whites are the top, therefore they should be the leaders, therefore they should be the ones who make the decisions, and the other ones, the colored people, okay, they are less intelligent, they are less advanced, they are not having the same brain size, therefore they should behave according to the plans and the instructions of the white bosses. Okay? And therefore they should not rule themselves, but they should be ruled by the whites. And if they lived together, they should be the servants of the whites, the slaves of the whites. Okay? Do you get it? But at the second half of the 20th century, and of course in the 21st century, anthropologists realized that this is fake, that this is not real. And they say that race is not biologically constructed, but race is socially and culturally constructed in order to justify inequalities. Okay, in order to fool the public opinion and convince them that inequality is okay. I hope you understood this. I hope that nobody was busy with other things while I was explaining this slide, because it is really very important. Okay. Cultural anthropology. Rajan Preet. Rajan Preet.
Yes, Professor.
Can you read this slide for us, please, very quickly?
Yes, Professor. Cultural anthropologists explore culture diversity among all living societies, including our own. This may include how humans organize themselves to carry out collective tasks, contemporary issues such as gender and sexuality, urbanization, globalization, transnational migration and human rights, how patterns of cultural expressions or material life and technology vary across cultures and over time, how culture shapes variations in the beliefs and behaviors of members of different human groups, the ways local communities respond to challenges of
Colonialism.
And capitalism.
Okay, very good. And I'm sure that although most of you understand the general meaning of this slide, but there are some words here that are new to many students, right? Let's start with this. Humans organize themselves to carry out collective tasks. This is very clear. Contemporary issues such as gender and sexuality. What is the difference between gender and sexuality? Who can answer? What is the difference between gender and sexuality? Okay, the problem that we are running out of time, so I can't wait for a long time for somebody to answer. So if you don't answer, I will answer. Gender is a biological difference between the males and the females, the socially, culturally constructed differences between males and females, like we were speaking about in Margaret Mead a while ago, like masculinity and femininity. This is this is socio-cultural difference, while sexuality is the biological difference. Okay, so when we say sex means the biological difference. How how males are biologically different from females. Here we are talking about sexuality, but gender is the socially constructed differences that, for example, saying that men should be masculine, they should be stronger, they should, okay, all of those should be's, okay, this is what, this is not born, this is not instinct, this is not biological, but this is the society that is teaching those ideas to the individuals. Okay? So, gender and sexuality, urbanization. Urbanization is the transformation from rural life to city life. For example, if you're living in a village and you move to a city, you will become urbanized. If the village itself developed into a city, so it was urbanized. Okay, so this is urbanization. Globalization means that the cultures of the world became so influential on each other. Okay, culturally, economically, politically, okay, media wise, communication wise, transportation wise, okay, the world became like one village. So this is globalization, transnational migration, the immigration from one country to another, and human rights. And of course, you might know that human rights have developed throughout centuries, but the most famous thing about human rights is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that was made by the United Nations in 1948. Okay? How patterns of cultural expression or material life and technology vary across cultures and over time. We say that in cultural anthropology, we study each social group, then we compare between different cultures. Okay? And cultural change, how we call that sometimes cultural evolution. It is not the biological evolution, but it is the cultural evolution. How the cultures are becoming more sophisticated and more able to face the challenges of life. Okay. This I'm passing those slides because I already, while we were explaining, I already explained them. The linguistic anthropology, we explained that it is a study of the social context and how languages developed. Archaeology, we began today with explaining archaeology, and we said that archaeology is studying the remains of ancient civilizations in order to understand their cultures. Okay, who knows the difference between material culture and the non-material culture?
Um,
Who?
Professor, like material culture is like the in the
Me,
past history, some of the
you, wait, need to just wait. Okay, thank you.
sorry.
Start now.
Yeah, like what I understand from this, like the material culture is that in the past time, people make like the pictures of statues from that is called the material culture, from which we know the
Okay,
history of,
but do we have material cultures nowadays or not?
like yeah, professor, like some of these statues in from which we know about the history, why for which it is famous, like why it
Okay,
is.
all of that is right. All what you said is right. Okay, but if we are talking about the present, for example, and we say that part of the culture in Vancouver, that there is a sky train, right? The sky train in Vancouver is a material or non-material thing.
It's material.
It's material. Why? Because it's tangible. It's something physical. Okay. But when we say that part of the custom or that part of the tradition that people wake up every day at 5 a.m. Okay, this is material or non-material?
Non-material.
Exactly.
Non-material.
Non-material.
So beliefs, traditions, customs, language, norms, all of those are non-material aspects of culture, while any tangible thing is material aspect of culture. Whether it was happening in the past, so the archaeologists are searching for it, or happening in the present. Okay? Applied anthropology. Applied anthropology means using the information. Now we have already studied culture, we have information, and employing this information in order to solve actual problems. This is called applied anthropology. Okay, like for example, a country like Canada is receiving lots of refugees from around the world, and when the refugees come, of course, they come with their original cultures, and they find difficulty in adapting to the new culture, and helping them to overcome those difficulties at the beginning from people who understand, who studied anthropology. So this will be an example of applied anthropology. Okay, like for example, when you were a very active person throughout your life, but suddenly you retired and you became too weak to work, and you have to stay at a nursing home, and you are unable to adapt to this new cultural environment. Okay, anthropologists can help in that. Psychologists can help. Okay, sociologists can help, but anthropologists can also help, and this is called applied anthropology. Okay, so using the anthropological knowledge to solve real life problems, this is called applied anthropology. Okay, medical anthropology is making connections between the biological anthropology and the cultural anthropology in order to help people overcome some problems. Like, one of the reasons of the very fast transmission of the coronavirus is the behavior of people, right? That people are culturally used to become so close, to be physically so close to each other. Okay, to not keep social distancing. They are not socialized to take care very much of the hygiene. Okay, so retraining the people to adapt to a new way of life that is going to protect them, okay, can be an example of medical anthropology. Okay? And I think that in this way we have finished the whole main ideas of those slides. I will take the attendance, then I'm not going to leave, and I'm staying until I answer every single question. Okay? So wait until I take the attendance, please. Amrit Kur.
Present, Professor.
Gortirath.
Present, Professor.
Gortirath, please, I want you to participate more in the class.
Okay.
Okay? And please, I'm saying that to everybody else. Always ask yourself, did I participate enough in the class or not? This is make us feel your presence. Okay? Thank you. Jasjit. 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 Karan. Karan.
Yes, Professor.
Okay. Why you? Please answer quickly, Mandeep.
Yes, sir.
Manpreet.
Yes, Professor.
Rajanpreet.
Yes, Professor.
Sandeep. Sandeep. Savrit. Savrit, you are here. Answer, please.
Yeah.
Okay. Mandeep Singh.
Yes, sir. Mandeep Singh.
Dilpreet Kaur.
Present, Professor.
Okay. Just a minute.